Welcome back to GetVokl, everyone. Let's move along. If you have not installed OBS on your system currently, please head over to the GetVokl resource page and look for the video labeled Setting Up OBS. It's located at about.getvokl.com/resources. This is going to be a continuation of the first broadcast that we did as a tutorial to set up OBS. So please go over, make sure you've already played this video, downloaded the software, installed the virtual camera plugin, and have followed the first tutorial on how to use components inside OBS. Once we know all that, we can come over and actually fire up OBS. So we're going to make sure that we get the software going here. And to make this short and sweet, it's going to be very simple to pull this off. I'm basically just going to add the C920 camera that I had added prior to this broadcast on the last video. We're going to make sure the video camera is working. So here I am. You see behind me a relatively simple green screen. It's really just a curtain that was purchased online. It's called a muslin, and basically that is either a green, white, black, red, or blue surface that's outstanding to whatever other colors might be in your studio. So if you have a physical studio where you have chairs and a table or countertops or things of that nature, you want to make sure you don't use colors that are going to interfere with the green screen behind you. Now, normally they use very bright neon colors like neon green, neon blue, bright magenta, pinks, or what have you. You can use any color you'd like, actually, because the whole principle behind chroma key is to key out or filter out the color that you don't want to see. So by wrapping or enveloping anything in your production in that color, you can practically make it invisible. So let's see how that's done here on OBS. Once the camera's set up, and you can see that my green screen doesn't cover the whole distance behind me. And I did that for a reason, because I don't have a lot of room. So a lot of us don't. And in my case, I have a very limited space that I can produce my content in front of camera. So this screen has to be altered slightly by squeezing the frame in and cutting off certain levels, like where my desk is over here. I need to cut that out. And I also need to take out the sidewall that's next to me. So let's see how we might be able to do that. First thing we want to do, however, is go over to the actual image that we have up on the screen. So here's our video. If you remember from the last time, we can fit that in by simply transforming the video, fitting it to the screen. Again, we have those color bars, or the pillars along the side that we mentioned in the last video. So if we want to be able to fill the screen, we're going to have to make sure that we cover that either by readjusting our scaling parameters for our camera or coming in here and finding a way to make this fit. So we've kind of got to play around a little bit and see what we can do to actually bring the video into a full frame. So there's a full frame of video. I've got it to where you cannot see that wall over there. So it would mean me probably having to move a little bit. In some softwares like vMix, you can cut these, and I can show you that in just a little bit. Now I can't do much with that corner over there of the desk, so I really shouldn't have that in my frame in the first place. I should have simply a clear screen behind me with no objects in the distance between myself and the screen. This is how we get rid of the green. We simply come down here to the filters menu by right-clicking the image of the camera, going to filters, and then there's a couple of things we can do here. We can add audio or video filters. Here we want to add an effect filter. So we're simply going to hit the plus sign. We want to add chroma key. So the chroma key could be whichever. We could just say green screen here or whatever. It's your choice what you want to call these. These names are for your own purposes only. So you see how that went gray. Now there are levels of intensity that you have to work with here, and lighting is a big factor. In this case, I could have chose green, blue, magenta, or a custom color, which would allow me to pick any color I wanted to filter out from my system. So let's just say for now, and for simplicity, we're going to stick with green. So in that, we have several settings here that are really not that important to get the total grasp of unless you're really into the high-tech aspect of it. It really comes down to a couple of things, and that's the key color that you're using. So you can intensify the color behind you in some cases with color correction. That's another thing that if I had to come in here and do a color correction on this, I could literally go there and change the contrast. So let's get rid of this for a second. I'll show you what I mean. If I take that green screen, maybe I want to make it saturated more in green. I need a brighter green to filter out a little bit. So that helps me to adjust the color. You see how much brighter it gets if I up this. Now the problem is it's going to affect my color as well. So we have to really consider the shift that we need to make, sometimes with cameras, sometimes with lighting, sometimes with hardware. It's really hard to say. But you can see how I can actually selectively change the colors, maybe enough in hue and maybe even enough in brightness that I can go back and fix the contrast enough to maybe make myself not look too red. The gamma is usually going to be brighter than darker. And in this case, the opacity should always be 100%. There's really no need for you to use opacity in this case. Saturation, again, is usually one of the big ones. That's where you're going to get the best effect on the green. Again, your backlight should be over your head so you can clean out this edge at the back of your hair. And any other lighting should be 3-point. You should have an angle coming in about 45, even with your face, as your main accent light, or I'm sorry, your main focal light, and then your accent light should come in on the other side at about 60 degrees with a slight fade. You can just Google 3-point lighting and pretty much come up with what you need to lay out your lights. So just take that back a little bit maybe. And again, if this screen were taut, I'm just kind of giving you the worst case scenario. If this screen were taut, it might be a little easier to filter out the color that I need, because a lot of software lets you use an eyedropper to select the green behind you, which is like picking on an area in here to try and get the brightest offset or medium tone so that it's in between your lightest greens and your darkest greens. That way it'll do a better job of filtering all that out. So for now, let's just leave it at that. Now we're going to go back and add the chroma key filter again. And now you can see how much more solid and clean that backdrop became. So that really helps in filtering out that green color completely. So let's close that. And now you can see I'm just a guy on a black screen. Now I'm still red and tony colored, so maybe the best thing to do would be to go in, change the color correction slightly just to maybe bring that hue down a little bit, change that hue shift back toward the other color. Now the software has already determined to some extent where my green screen is, so I shouldn't have much issue with that going out of whack unless I change the colors extremely. So now I look a little better. Again, whenever you use chroma key, if I haven't mentioned this already, it does and can drastically affect the quality of your video because it's filtering. It's trying to build edges around yourself to avoid contrast issues with that which is behind you or for any overlays that you do. So in this case, you can still see the desk over there. That's going to continue to show up unless there was a way I could cut it out. Well, what's the only way I can really cut it out? It would be to do something like this maybe and take it off camera, which would mean now I got to scale all this. So it really comes down to what fits and what can work. How does your setup behind you work into your camera location, your set location, how you're doing things? So it's very important a lot of times as to how you place your studio, where your green screen is going to be. There should be some distance between you and your green screen. If you notice, mine was like right on me, and see here already you can see the difference in the way that some of these lighting effects can change the shadows on your skin to make the chroma key go through it. So we have to be careful there. Let's say I were to go back and scale this back into fit. You'll see the difference. So there's that little bit off to the side that we're still lacking. In my case, I can't. And then there's the lighting, which is so bright on this corner of my head and my arm that it's cutting through and causing any colors in my skin to match the chroma key filter. So I got to be careful. I'm doing this for the sheer fact that you will run into these problems with green screen effects unless you have really great lighting, awesome camera lens control, and the ability to focus really well. Like right now, I'm focused more on my face than I am on anything else in this area. That happens in a smaller scene room where you're trying to gather that frontal talent and you have stuff behind you. A lot of times we want to blur that out. So now if I were to add an image into this, like a background, this is how that's done. You simply take any image that you have. It doesn't really matter. Let's get some background here. Say I want to be out in the woods or something. So if I want to be out in the woods, I simply put the woods picture in. I scale that into fit. So transform, fit to screen, and then I'd lower that on the totem pole so that it's below my camera. Now you can see how this works. I want you to see the errors. I do this for a reason, because you can see how it filled in the pillar. I'm sorry, that way. Right here on this side of the camera, where my arm disappears from the frame, that's that black pillar bar that used to be there. Because it's already black, it just fills in with image. Same with over here. See how it cuts it off? So that's why those pillars can be used okay and to your advantage in a green screen effect. As long as your green screen can reach those pillars, like mine does not. I hate this stuff. When I'm backwards like this, I always want to point in the opposite direction. So that little section right there has to be trimmed out somehow. There are ways you can do that, because if I come in here and filter, oh, it's only going with the top image. I gotta select the other one. Okay, so let's do it this way. Okay, so let's see if we've got another choice here that we can do. Nope. Oh, here we go. We can crop it. Okay, let's do the crop. So I can move. Check this out. I'm going to go right and left. See how I can squeeze that off? If I just keep rolling that number up high enough, it shifts me over and fills in that area by cropping it. So I'm shifting it over. Boom. Okay, so I found what I was looking for. I usually don't use OBS. So then on the other side as well, I can get rid of the desk and crop that side by simply raising the left level. And that'll crop out the other section that's on the screen that we don't want. Go, go, go. Takes a while. And once you get an idea of what distance you need by registering the numbers in the panel, like on one side it's 92, the other one's 92 pretty much. No. Yeah, it's even. So I actually, if you see it down there, there's a little bit of a scratch line right there. See it? So I would say let's go with 100 and 100. Now this might cut my arm off a little tight. Yeah, that's a tight area to work in, but it's okay, it'll work. So if I close it, boom. Now I got my cool fall scene behind me. And now I can change that in any way I like. If I decide to simply change the image, now remember, same like it before, if I'm in studio mode and I switch over, I've got to make sure I transition. Let's say I just wanted to change it. I could make that any other kind of scene. I think I could do my background here. And there we go. So that's how green screen works in OBS. And if you didn't notice, as I was making the last video and labeled these Windows Preview and Program, OBS 23 came out and they had them labeled. So more power to them. Okay, that's about all I've got for green screen, because that's really all you need to know. Even if you had a green painted wall, if you use like a green apple paint on a wall, that's a green screen. So consider that. All right, that's it. Now we're going to move on to some other stuff. The green screen stuff is now covered. So we've managed to go through and talk about chroma key inside OBS. These were just the basics. There's a lot of things you can do with chroma key that are pretty outstanding if you haven't seen it done in the movies before. A lot of the movie stuff you see nowadays actually is done via chroma key. So you can wrap people in green, you can wrap buildings in green, you can literally build entire sets of green and bring in all kinds of 3D animations, 3D sets, you name it, virtual sets. So that's another thing I'll show you really quick. With vMix, I could bring in a virtual set. Now, since I don't have that feature necessarily built in here, that doesn't mean I can't bring in a virtual set. So let's bring in a different image. Let's bring in something more video-based. So let's bring in a video file, which would be a media source. This will be my, oops, I already had one. Let's make one here. I'm going to go grab a local file. And I'm going to grab a motion video. So maybe some clouds. Let's just do some clouds. And I'm going to open that. I'm going to have it loop so that it continuously plays. Okay, should be about right. Now, if I put that behind me and get rid of the image by hiding it just by clicking on the eye, I have to bring the media source down below me. And then I should be able to play this source. It should play, actually. Make sure I got all the features set. Speed. So now it'll only play when the source becomes active. That's all there is to that. And really it comes down to playing around. Motion videos are really cool, but they do take up a lot of bandwidth. So you have to watch what type of video file you're using. If it's a lot of high def video, it could really stagnate your production and cause some serious video glitching because of bandwidth loss and packet loss. But in this case, it's a very small file. So look for something under a meg if you can in data size, and that will definitely improve the quality of your stream. Even though the graphic might not be the most high def, it's still going to work for what purpose you're using it. So that should cover that. Now we're going to go from here back to GetVokl over to the resources page. So here we are at about.getvokl.com/resources, where you will find that 5-minute video that I produced to help people get the software installed and on their system. You can download that from the OBS page, which is OBS Studio or the obsproject.com. From there, you will also be able to head over and download the virtual cam driver that's required for OBS to function properly with GetVokl. Directions on how to install that are on that page. From there, we have several other software offerings here that are available to just about anybody that wants to play around with production and editing and sound and other aspects to marketing your broadcast. So we're going to go through these kind of one at a time, not necessarily all of them, but we will go through some of them. So we've covered OBS software. Obviously, this is an open source software that's available to the public for free. That's why we always start at that location, because some people just can't afford the extra money that's necessary to buy software. From there, there are other options available. One of them listed on this page is vMix, which is down here near the bottom of the list. This is what I use. So I'm just going to take you over to the page at vmix.com really quick so you can find that file. The thing I really love about vMix software is the fact that it comes in so many flavors. Starting with a basic free package that includes enough resource and feature set to do just about anything stream-wise, including 100+ built-in animated titles, scoreboards, and tickers, along with the fact that you can use playlists and color correction to make your broadcast stand out. Not only can you get this software free for life and use it, even though it's not in HD format, you can jump to HD for $60, and that's a one-time fee. So from there, it goes up to Pro, which is the software you see me using, which is a full-blown live production suite of software. It includes the ability to bring in up to 8 callers and do instant replays with 4 additional cameras and a lot of other really cool stuff like PTZ camera operations and things like that. So if you're into a really enormous amount of tech and want to be able to learn what it's like, there are several training videos out here on vMix to go through. So if you want to know how to run vMix in your productions, it can be done the same way on GetVokl. Along with that, we have another member on the list, and that would be Telestream's Wirecast. Now, Wirecast is actually a product that was developed by the LDS Church. And you'll find actually most of the software, vMix itself, was actually developed for a church setting as well. And many of them originated in that format because that's where this is probably used the most. Under Telestream Solutions, you will find a ton of different things that you could get your hands on. As far as products go, it's just almost amazing the list of feature sets that you can build out over at Telestream. The one we're looking for is Wirecast, and we do have links to ScreenFlow along with some of their video editing programs as well. So in order to get to Wirecast, you can get a discount right now actually of 30% off during their spring sale. So if you want to download a 30-day trial, you simply enter some information. I believe they want your name and email and company information. You will get the download link for Wirecast, and let me just quickly show you what Wirecast actually looks like. Very similar in nature to any of the other softwares, and basically the feature sets are the same. However, the workflow is much different on Wirecast than it is on some of the other softwares. So if you notice, this one has a little bit of a different way of adding features to, so similar to what we were doing before, we can set up all kinds of audio capture, video capture, network devices, overlays, backgrounds, etc., etc. But as you can see, it's in a much different setup. So each of these layers stack on top of each other, and in each of these 4 stackable layers, which you can create more of as well, you can also, or 5 actually, you can go and create multiple inputs for each of these layers. So it's really a different flow, a different thought when it comes to how to produce a show, but it's very highly used in a lot of the high-end productions that you see on television, in sports, really all over the internet. A lot of stuff is being produced by Wirecast. Okay, next on the list past Wirecast would be ManyCam. Not my favorite on the list, but it has been around for nearly, well, more than a decade now, I believe. It's been around 10 or 12 years since ManyCam first opened its doors. This software is kind of a love-hate relationship with Mac users because it doesn't always seem to work as well as it should. But we have seen a lot of improvements with this software over the past several years. I don't have this software immediately installed on my system, but if you head over here to their feature set, you can kind of get a good idea by running down the left side here, everything that's available inside the ManyCam app. Kind of amazing actually what they have built into this. So you can run down this entire list and try these features out for yourself. One of them includes the ability to do face masking over top, to be able to draw text in certain formats, playlists, RTMP feed, not what we're doing here. We're using ManyCam for its virtual camera, and lots of other stuff, as you can plainly see. So you can download that in one of two ways, and that is to come over here and grab either the ManyCam version for Windows, Mac, Android, or iOS. So they do have two mobile apps as well. Okay, next on the list would be VidBlaster Pro. Now I'm going through the list of major high-end live production software suites first, and then we'll just run down the list of other things that are available. The thing I like about VidBlaster X is that it comes in 3 flavors as well. In this case, the US home version, studio version, and broadcaster version are shown here in prices of US dollars, which means you would pay $9 a year. That's right, $9 a year for VidBlaster X Home, which includes modules. Now these are laid out a little bit differently. Now this one I can show you. So let's head over to VidBlaster. So as you can see, this is a little bit different than what we had before. Another typical layout that's off the norm. Again, everything's normally in one way or another similar in nature as to what you can do, like add cameras or add graphics or overlays for lower thirds, transparent images or video or audio players. So in each of these cases, we have the ability to do very much the graphic stuff that we want to do. They include audio mixers and recorders and controls to switch between images on the fly with a T-bar set up on this side if I'd like to fade stuff across. But what's most important really is the fact that I have a virtual camera here. So I need to go back and find the module that contains the virtual camera. We have a camera module here, but that's not what we're really looking for. What we're looking for is a virtual video output. So now we have this output, which will allow us to create a virtual video based on whatever item I want to use, whether that's one of my players, one of my cameras, or one of my stills. So if I actually had a camera connected here, I can select a video device, bring in my HD, put that on the screen. And then if I decide camera 1 is what's going to go virtual, I simply turn it on. Now whatever's coming out of this box right here, this little box that I have on the screen, which I can make bigger, I think. No, I can't. This is the output that's going out to GetVokl, let's say. So I can just know that that's playing and going where it needs to go. So that's one way. Again, this software also has green screen capabilities. Everyone's a little bit different. So I don't have the resources obviously to go through each version of the software to produce green screen effects. That's why if you need some consulting on how to do this type of stuff, people like me are around to help others figure it out. Okay, as far as the top end priority software that most people will get their hands on, that kind of covers it. But let's just hop back over real quick to the GetVokl resource page and we'll go through some of these other things that are here for us today. So we have the OBS, we have the Wirecast. Ecamm is a really cool bit of software for those folks who are on Mac. So this also provides a virtual camera. I can't demonstrate it for you here because I'm currently working on a PC and don't have any Mac products here to work with. So you can just come over here and download. It starts at $12 a month. Sadly, this used to be a one-time fee offering, but as of recent, they went to a monthly subscription package. You can get a free trial to see if it works out for you, but keep in mind there are some definite limitations to the type of Mac OS that is required to get this software to work. All right, other than that, we have covered Manicam. XSplit Broadcaster is the one I actually started with. I love this software. It works really well, and it's very similar in nature to OBS when it comes right down to it. It's connected online, so you do have to log into an account in order to use it properly. The free version tends to always be poking you to upgrade and pay for additional features. I recommend using the download broadcaster link to get the download that you would need. We can actually go and grab the virtual camera component, which can be used not only with XSplit, but I'm pretty certain this can also be used with other software. So follow the link here, watch the video for the install, and that'll help you along. vMix, we covered Snap Camera. This is one I've not used personally, but I have seen the download. So if you want to give this a try, let me know what you think. It is compatible with Windows 7 and Mac 10. So it's really just one of those one-off offerings. You have to go through, give them your email, agree to some policies, and download the Mac or PC version. We also have Voice Mod. Now, I have tried this software product. It can interfere with any online mixer or other sound devices you may have on your system, so I'm just giving fair warning. Come over here and take a look at what's available. It's basically a soundboard. It's the ability to change your voice, alter your voice, like you do see in a lot of these broadcasts on TV where people want to remain anonymous. The voice generator is what that's for. You can change your voice, or you can use other sound effects that are built onto the board. So go ahead, check it out, download it, see what you think. Keep it exe file again. Okay, back to the resource page. Some of the free open source tools that we have here that are something every producer should have is Audacity, which is a way for people to do complete sound engineering with a free open source cross-platform audio software package. One I use all the time and highly recommend. So go take a look. One thing with Audacity, if you want to create MP3 files from Audacity, you do need to download the lame installed plugin. Unless they've recently updated with the 2.3 release, that would be required to convert a WAV file into an MP3 file. So make sure you go through the documentation for Audacity before heading out looking for lame, but I expect that's probably the case. All right. Next on the list is OpenShot. This is a 4K video editing software, open source, completely free to use. So I highly recommend, if you can't afford to buy any video editing software or have access to anything at this time, go ahead and download this. It's a very cool video editing suite. Works very well. You haven't run into really any glitches at all in it. It's for Linux, Mac, and PC. So go give that a shot. Get it? OpenShot. After OpenShot, we have Jingle Palette. Jingle Palette is very similar in nature to Voice Mod, only Jingle Palette is really just for jingles and MP3 files to be brought into your system. Now, Jingle Palette has been around for quite some time and works well, but it is older software, so it's really only compatible with Windows 2000 XP, 2003, and Vista, along with version 7. This was when the software was developed, so it's been around for quite a while and could have some compatibility issues with Windows 10. There is another option available, and that is through the people who developed Voicemeeter. Under vbaudio.com, which is where you'll find the Voicemeeter software under their audio apps. Here is the banana version I currently use. There is also under the Audio Pro section MT32SP Lite, which is also a sound pad, which includes the ability to also take your own recordings and bounce them around to whatever sources you feel you need to send them to. It's a 32-track recorder, player, and playout app. So a little more advanced than Jingle Palette, but also a free donationware download. They don't expect you to pay, but they would like donations if you find that the software is useful to you. MonoSnap. I used this quite a bit as well before I found TechSmith's Camtasia and Snagit. Now, this is a free software. It's a beautiful software. I used it for quite some time. It's not quite as advanced as Snagit is, but it comes in both a Mac and PC version. It allows you to take image files or quick recordings off of your desktop screen and alter them with some graphic features like arrows and boxes and blurring out of text and certain other aspects like that. So that works out pretty well. The other one on the list is additional tools for things like I mentioned, Camtasia. This is the ScreenFlow video editing and screen recording, similar to the MonoSnap program that I'm currently using. Let me see if I have that loaded up. but I can. So if we load up TextMist version, you'll see a little difference between the Snagit 13 and the MonoSnap I just showed you, for the simple fact that this has a floating dock as well, which just popped up on the screen, that I can come up here and take a quick snapshot of my screen or a video if I'd like. So I can simply come in here and say I want this section here, but now I can decide if that's going to be an image, a video recording, or launch a panoramic capture. Same concept works with MonoSnap. You can do the same type of quick hotkey snaps of any desktop feature you want to grab. Okay, another additional tool we have here is ScreenFlow, which is a Mac-only video editing and recording software. So this does not work with PC, keep that in mind, but it's also something out there. We also have Switch, which is another Telestream product, which is just simply a video player. Now, this can also work as an encoder, which has the ability to maintain certain features of a broadcast through a video player. VLC player does the same thing in essence, where it can stream from the video player itself. Great for pushing recorded video content out onto the internet. Then we have Caption Maker. This is one that is specifically through Telestream. You can get a free trial. It helps you build captions on your broadcasts, which help you to connect to a hearing impaired audience. Creator tools. We have Snappa, Relay That, Canva, PicMonkey, and Buffer. Now, Buffer, as you know, is more of a social media controller and scheduler than anything, but it's great for working up your GetVokl events, be able to alert people with scheduled posts out to Twitter or Facebook to inform people of what you're up to. Other than that, these are great for building show cards and feature sets. I'm familiar with Relay That, and I also use Canva. So just to give you guys a quick rundown on how those work, Relay That was developed by a friend of mine, and this system is really kind of cool. It's set up to help you produce branded content on the fly, allowing that content to turn into ideas by giving you basically a layout principle of pre-generated content. So if you decide on one and change some of the stuff, it goes and fills out all the other ones for you in that with that same data. Some of the others, like Canva, cost a little more, and for one, it's one of those softwares that you're not going to get full access to it unless you pay for the additional features. Very similar in nature though, so if I were to log into Canva and look at what's going on there, I'm going to see pretty much the same concept. If I go to my designs, you can see I've made plenty of show cards here on Canva for my broadcasts that I'm going to do out on Facebook, or if I'm going to do product reviews or some kind of show concept, whichever I might have, me and the missus. Okay, so that gives you a good idea of what these tools are for. PicMonkey's more of just a visual editor than anything. I could even recommend the likes of GIMP or Photoshop. And when I say Photoshop, what I mean is this. Photoshop comes in a few different flavors as well, and if you notice, Adobe Photoshop is about $120, yet Adobe Photoshop Elements, which contains a majority of the same features, is about half the price. So if you're going to look for a Photoshop software, head over and check out Elements first maybe. But GIMP is also one of my favorites. I use it all the time. It's an open source image manipulation software program, and it's into its most current update as of 4/7/2019. This is just a great free software package for just about anybody. Okay, well, I think I've covered most of what I wanted to, but there are probably still a few things I wouldn't mind touching on before we go. Oh yeah, here's a couple others. So just besides the fact that we do have the editing tools that are at our disposal, there's a few more that you might want to take a look at. One of them is by Corel, known as Video Studio Ultimate. I happen to use that all the time. It's what I build most of my videos with, honestly. I also own Camtasia, but it just seems like I always keep coming back to Video Studio Ultimate because of its ease of use. It's not the highest end software, and it's not what most of the bigger players use, but it does what it needs to do. So maybe we'll put together some type of video in the future that gets a little more into the actual aspect of building a video with a video editor. And most video editors look and function in the same way, with timelines and layers for video, overlay, titles, voice, and music. And that's really it. But other than Corel, you could go take a look at the Adobe Video Suite, which is Premiere Pro, or you can also look into Sony's Vegas, which is another video editing software, although this software starts in the Pro version much higher level than most of the others. All right, and there are others that could be had. If you want any more information about video editors, just get a hold of me. We'll talk about it. And last but not least, Mimo Live, which is another Mac-only software, probably one of the finest on the market. And again, it's only for Apple users. You can get a trial download, but if you were to really take a look at the rich feature set that Mimo Live has, along with a call-in feature for guests, you'll find that Mimo Live is probably one of the highest end software packages out there, and the price reflects such. But the problem being is that being a one OS software makes it limited use. I think you get the point. There's your virtual camera. And a lot of other really cool stuff that goes with it. I'll try to put some links in the video. They should all be there by the time this video makes it to you. So please do go check it out. Having this resource page over at GetVokl serves a very simple purpose. If you intend on producing professional broadcasts here on GetVokl.com, we want to do nothing more than help you understand the softwares, principles, and practices that must be put into place to make a production top-notch. And if you use any tools out here on GetVokl that we're not familiar with, please let us know by sending a comment over through the feedback section on the main menu at GetVokl.com. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.